Event. It's twirling.
Thinking about it. There we are.
Hey!
Hello. Hi.
Woohoo! We're on. Welcome everyone to the live weekly webinar. Welcome to our 10K in 30-day live weekly webinar. My name is Vanessa Simpkins. Joining me, the amazing Sherry Sutherland. It's in the house. Woo woo!
Hello. Hi.
And we've got a bunch of people here joining us live. Welcome if you're live. Go ahead, type in the chat box your name and where you're from. Let us know that you can hear us, you can see us. Before we get started, all this amazing technology is working. Welcome to all the people joining us live on YouTube Live. I'm sure that you guys are here. Hopefully you guys can hear us and see us. Brenda, awesome. Debbie, welcome. Let us know if you're joining us. Let me introduce you to the amazing Sherry Sutherland. You guys are in for a treat. She's a tranquility mentor and calmness guide at tranquilitysoulspa.com. She helps women create strong boundaries. Hello, we could all use some of those. And unshakable confidence, which allows women to live a life they love, free of stress and anxiety. She says that a lot of women already know what they need to be doing, but they still find themselves kind of going in circles. And she helps her clients find clarity and confidence to make changes that will stick. Guys, if you saw kind of the promotion, we're talking about self-love. And I wore this shirt today. I'm going to show you guys my shirt. I love this shirt, my little yoga shirt. Love is the answer. And we're really talking about that here today. We're going to have an open and candid conversation. So welcome, Sherry. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And welcome everyone that's joining. I see that Debbie, Anna, Brenda, Beverly, Anna, Babita, Chrissy, Blaze are here. I love that you girls are here. Welcome. If you're
welcome.
And I mean, Sherry, this is your show, man. Take it away. Tell us a little bit about how you got started on this journey. Maybe tell us a little bit how you got started.
Okay. So I have struggled. Well, I struggled for most of my life with stress, anxiety, boundaries, confidence, self-esteem. I really had kind of a difficult road to here. My mother was a narcissist, so growing up with a narcissist was difficult. That means that you then get bullied in school because you don't have any self-confidence, so then everybody picks on you. I thought I was doing better in my 20s and ended up marrying a really great guy who developed PTSD a couple years into our marriage. And so he cratered and started, pushing. He became a little bit of a narcissist as well. So that kind of tanked my self-confidence and my self-esteem and my self-love back into the toilet again. And then I finally, after 15 years of that, I found myself finally in the position where I was able to say, enough, no more. I'm not doing this anymore. And so I left him. And then within 6 months, I developed something called Meniere's disease, which is horrible, crushing vertigo attacks that make you want to die. And so I had to leave my job. And that was really, it sucked. I had been a commercial property manager for 20 years. I loved my career. I loved my life. I loved all of the pieces of it, but I couldn't do it anymore. So what else do you do? Well, I had spent most of my adult life learning about how to fix myself. And I had spent the last 5 to 8 years before I got sick, kind of sharing that knowledge with all my friends, my family, helping them out, getting them to better places in their lives. And so it was kind of funny that I was, dragging everybody along with me. And then I got sick and I was like, okay, so then what do I do? I'm bored at home. I don't want to be home by myself, not having a job. So it kind of worked out that I was like, I could be a coach. I could teach other people this for a living and share this knowledge that I've spent the last 25 years gathering into me, and the last 8 years sharing with other people. And so and then I found your program and it just kind of serendipity took over. And here I am a year later going, wow, I love my life.
And you've got a Facebook group started as well. You've got a website. And I think, that's what happens when we, I think life kind of puts us in a pile of crap. And then how we get out becomes our service to the world. And it looks like you had some major wake-up calls, like bang, bang. You had 2 of them was divorce and boom, leaving a job after so many years. and
Yes.
reinventing yourself. So, and then this is a really, I'm happy we're having this conversation, and I love this conversation. If you're joining us live, if you have any questions for us along this way, please pop in the chat box. Use that. We'll be taking questions. So let's talk a little bit about the pitfalls, because this is a common theme, a much more common theme than women think. Oh, business is about business. Well, your business is like just an extension of you, right? So if you're not honoring yourself, not creating boundaries, not paying attention to the signs, your business is not going to do very well. So it's an important conversation, and I love that we're here doing it. So talk to us a little bit about how we get started on this journey. What are some pitfalls to avoid?
Well, really, you have to be coming from a very strong emotional and spiritual place in order to really be successful at business. When you're running your own business and you're your own everything, you're wearing all the different hats. It can really burn you out.
Anybody relate? Raise their hand. When you're a sole proprietor, sole business owner,
exactly.
In the beginning of your business, you wear all the freaking hats. You write the emails, you do the sales calls, you do show up, you do the coaching, you do the social media posts, you have the kids, you walk the dogs, you clean the bed sheets.
Exactly.
We got a hand
and it's totally about having the ability to set boundaries for the different areas of your life so that they're not bleeding into each other. And it's about having the self-confidence and the self-esteem to know that you can learn any of the skills that you need to learn, because there's a huge learning curve with starting your own business. And I don't care what kind of business it is. There's a huge learning curve there. And having that confidence and that self-esteem to actually start that business and be able to grow with it and learn the things you need to learn. And the humbleness to be able to say, okay, I don't know how to do that. Does somebody else know how to do that? That's a huge one too, right? I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces when you're talking about how to create a business from scratch and how to make that work in a real way.
And I love that you're talking about boundaries, because the truth is you're not going to do everything. I mean, there's going to have to be a sacrifice somewhere along the line. Okay, it's because you're learning, right? There's time that is involved with learning. Maybe as you're growing your business, you're like, Anna's like, I have the kids, I clean the bed sheets, etc. She's laughing. Maybe you don't want to clean the freaking bed sheets anymore. It was one of the things that I did. I said, hey man, making all this money, supporting all these women, I refuse to spend my weekends cleaning the fucking oops, I swore. Cleaning the freaking bathroom, I was like, no go. We hire a cleaning lady that gets outsourced. So,
exactly.
There is a confidence. There is a certain set of, hey man, worthiness, deservingness, self-love that says, I don't want to be doing this. And I think spending your time wisely and your money wisely, why would you, we had a conversation about this yesterday with our clients, why would you be doing something? Let's say you're a coach and you average it out, you make about $100 to $300-400 an hour. Why would you do something yourself if you could pay somebody $20, $30, $40 an hour to do it for you? Unless, of course, you really love to do it, right?
Exactly.
So how do people start? Like, what are your suggestions on getting that confidence?
Well, it's funny that Nancy says delegate, because the first step is to really know that you deserve it, and to really recognize that you have to focus on the things that you're good at and that are making you money, and you have to delegate the things that you are less good at that could make you money or that could make you happy. It's as simple as that. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, you can have really rock solid boundaries. But if your boundaries include you being the one that does all of the cooking and all of the cleaning and all of the kid stuff, then you're going to end up in a really horrible place where you're miserable and you're resenting all of it. And you're probably going to resent the business first. So that's the piece that's going to suffer the most. And that's dangerous, because that's the first step to not having a business anymore. is because you've started hating it.
So it's really about protecting your revenue, protecting your livelihood, right? Not letting that resentfulness build. Now, I'm going to circle around and talk about narcissism, because you and I both were raised by narcissistic moms. And, you know, I've done a lot of work in my life, therapy, personal development. This is a long journey, folks. This is not my first pony show. As I know, it's not yours, you know, Sherry.
Yes.
And I was looking on Pinterest the other day at, you know, some kind of post like 14 signs you were raised by a narcissistic parent. And I looked in and started reading, you know, how people get affected. You know, they stop trusting themselves. They doubt themselves. They overgive. They don't have boundaries. They become resentful. They don't trust people with their feelings. They don't process emotions properly. And I thought, oh my God, like I could have checked that list. You know, different areas in my life. And so I think, you know, this is the topic of boundaries and self-care. It's a big conversation that encapsulates a lot of different areas. And also says she can relate to that. She was raised by a narcissistic, abusive mom and dad. But be the same thing. I'm a narcissist mother and sister. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Next says emotional labor falls still on the women of the house. The emotional labor. Oh my God. So how do we create those boundaries, or, you know, what's the first step? I mean, I like to do, I'm like, give me the recipe, show me what I got to do, you know?
Well, the first step is actually recognizing that you have a problem with it. Because until you realize that something isn't right, you can never, ever change anything about it. You know, it's that old story. You know, if you live in a bubble your whole life, you never know there's anything outside the bubble. Yeah. But when you pop the bubble by accident, holy crap! And you got a lot to go on.
Yeah, and that's this idea that, you know, insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I know that there's a lot of also people-pleasing involved here, right? So a lot of women have a hard time standing up for themselves, creating boundaries because, or, hey, man, if I don't do the emotional labor around here, like Nancy says, who's going to do it? You know, my kids won't like me, my husband won't like me, people out there will judge me, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah. Yes, I hear that one all the time in my group, and it makes me crazy. Because here's the secret. The people who resent you when you change aren't people who love you. They are people who get something from you being the person that you are when you're that beaten down, horrible person with no self-esteem and no self-confidence, and you don't like yourself. Because that's the person that you're feeding into that narcissism then. You're giving them what they want. And they don't give a shit if you're getting anything in return. They're getting what they want, and that's the only thing that matters to them. And so it's really interesting when you really start to talk about having boundaries and you start to talk about not allowing people to do the same things over and over again, the definition of insanity, that a lot of people will fall away from you. And that's kind of sucks, but it's good at the same time because it allows you to create a life that's filled with people who are better for you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and who actually do care about you, the person, and not just what you can do for them.
Yes, and sometimes it is hard, like what Beat is saying, because it can be your family member, it can be your spouse, your partner.
It's usually them. It's usually them. I mean, a narcissist at work is usually very charming, and they can't, you know, unless you work for them and are sucked in that way, you don't have a clue that they're a narcissist. Mm-hmm. It's the people that are closest to us who show themselves to be this person. And so that is
because of our past, it's because of the past, it's like, oh, that's familiar, even though it's dysfunctional. Oh, that's familiar. Oh, I get. And the normal people, the normal people without the dysfunction are like, oh, they're boring. They're not really interesting. We've normalized, you know, the drama or the toxicity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like Nancy says, toss those toxic people in the dumpster. And it's kind of, I mean, it's awful to say, but you pretty much have to, because unless a toxic person, unless a narcissist wants to change, they're not going to change. And it's very rare to actually find someone who is a narcissist, who recognizes it and who's willing to make the changes that they have to make.
Yeah, and Blaze is asking, it is rare. Who is a narcissist? It's somebody they're never wrong. It's always about them. You cannot. It's a mental disorder where they can't identify as being separate from you. So it's very hard for them to create boundaries with them. They're never wrong. They don't really see you as a separate person. You're either their pawn in their game, or they totally ignore you. It creates, and I never thought this was a real thing. Okay, I just woke up to this like several years later. But I remember on this idea, on this topic of when you take your power back. The rest of my family didn't want to hear that story. Wow, wait a second, Vanessa's supposed to take care of all of this. Your crazy mom. Don't, when you say, set a boundary and say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore, get ready for some pushback, right? People are invested in you doing the dirty work, because if you don't do it, it means that they've got to do it. What happens when you let go of one end of the rope? And the whole thing falls apart.
Exactly.
You don't like that.
And I just want to add that narcissists tend to be the people who they set situations up so that they can look like the hero, and they set situations up so that the other person is always wrong, and the other person is always you're always left with, they say on your left foot, you're always kind of half taken aback with a narcissist and kind of going, okay, they're very unpredictable. They tend to explode really easily, and it's always someone else's fault. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So, yeah.
We got a question here. Someone's saying, how do you deal with the shame of going out to be a spiritual entrepreneur and have so much conflict with your folks? How do you love yourself and know you're a good person?
Ooh, I like this one. There shouldn't be conflict, or there shouldn't be shame or conflict when it's your true calling. Because the shame and the conflict is just your ego self saying, yeah, you're not capable of this. You're not ready for this. And there's a couple of things that I want to talk about here that are the keys to getting to self-love. The first one is the idea that you have radical responsibility for your life, for your mind, for the things that you're putting into your mind. You need to recognize your limiting beliefs, and then you need to reprogram your mind. You need to fill your mind with beliefs that are going to get you to where you want to be. And for everyone, that looks slightly different. Everyone's journey to reprogramming their mind is slightly different. Some people can get away with I ams, and some people need it to be I like the feeling of, or I love, or some, there's different things that resonate with you, and at different points in your journey, you're going to find different things that resonate with you. But basically, that's the bedrock that everything else goes on. And then the second one is embracing your dark side. So loving all of your flaws too, because if you don't love your flaws, you're never going to be able to really love yourself completely, totally, and absolutely. So you have to know that perfection is overrated, that you are worthy of love exactly as you are right this very second. Not in 10 years from now when you've fixed a few things, but right now. And I stole that phrase from a friend of mine, Braun. It's so true.
So true. And I think this is going to answer that question, how do you get over the shame? Well, it's, you don't have to be perfect to go out there and do your work in the world. I mean, look at Wayne Dyer. The guy was an alcoholic. He struggled. He wrote a couple books when he was in his freaking full-blown alcoholism. He turned his life around. I mean, the problems don't problems mean that you're on the path, and it means that you have some kind of skin in the game. It's my opinion anyway. So,
Yeah.
Recognizing that you have flaws and leaning into them, like Sherry says, I really like that, embracing them. It's and making the decision that I'm still worthy of love.
And the best one, the most important one, is knowing that our flaws are actually our best parts. It shifts it, right? It kind of twists that on its head, right? Like we're thinking, well, my flaws are, but those are the parts that actually make you you. Because if everyone was perfect, then we'd be boring. We'd be Stepford wives, and we'd all be like twinsies, and we'd all look the same, and we'd talk the same, and we'd, can you imagine a world that boring? Really?
Yeah, there's a quote that says, where the cracks are is where the light got in.
Oh, I love that one. Leonard Cohen. He's awesome. Yes. It's true though, because I made Anna cry. I'm sorry, Anna. But it's so true, because the flaws that you think are flaws are the things that other people love you for. They love you the most for that, because it shows that you're human. It shows that you are real, that you're authentic, that you are a true person in your own right, not just some Stepford person. And in business, that definitely helps with your marketing. That helps with your ability to communicate and connect with other people. And that's something that Vanessa, you teach that all the time, right? Like, embrace your story. The shitty parts of your story are the best.
Yeah, it makes you relatable. No one's going to hire you if you're like this perfect person who's like, I'm looking so perfect. My shit doesn't stink. Sorry. Everyone's crap stinks. It makes you more believable. It makes you more real. I've got a few questions coming up here. It's not a question of getting rid of toxic people. It's healing my own mind.
Yes.
So some people are saying, hey, what do you do with when, your worst enemy is not somebody outside of you, it's your own mind inside? Good question.
Yes, I deal with this quite a bit in my group, actually, because self-talk is one of the ways that you can tell whether you love yourself or not. Self-talk is kind of one of the main keys to actually getting everything that you want in life. There's self-love, there's self-talk, there's boundaries, there's a bunch of things that are kind of the keys to getting everything that you want in life. And your self-talk is the best way to do this. There's 2 or 3 different things that you need to focus on when it comes to self-talk. The first one is that if you wouldn't say it to your best friend, stop saying it to yourself. Period. End of conversation. If you talk to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself, then I really can't help you any more than that, because I don't know why they're still friends with you. Yeah. But really, you need to make sure that inner conversation is as kind as it can be. Mm-hmm. And the second piece of that is acknowledging that the fear talking, whatever it is that you call it, gremlins, your inner child, that inner critic, the inner judge, whatever that inner voice is that's saying horrible things to you. You want to go through and you want to say, thank you for sharing that fear. But, and the but is a big one, but we're going to do this anyways, or we're going to say this a different way, or however you want to word that, so that you're not dismissing it, you're acknowledging it, and then you're moving forward anyways. Mm-hmm. Because that is the key, especially when it comes to business. You are all businesswomen, you can't just hide in fear and cower in a corner. You have to acknowledge it. You have to walk past it in order to actually get to the things that you want. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how it works.
I like that. So it's becoming conscious and saying, hey, thank you, and we're doing this anyways, making a new decision around that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And making sure that, if you catch yourself saying the crap, then you simply say, oops, I'm so sorry. just as if you would if it was your best friend, right? So, if that inner voice is saying something horrible, I'm so sorry. I would never say that to you because I love you. Even
Right.
if it's not completely true that you love yourself yet, still say it anyways. I'm so sorry. I love you. I would never, ever. You're my soul. You're me. And you're my best friend because you
Right.
are your best friend, right?
And that's such a great perception change. Would you
It
talk to
really
your
is.
best friend that way? It reminds me of a conversation I had with a good friend of mine recently. She says that she negotiates with her inner child. Inner child wants to go painting. She says, listen, we go to work today. We're going to get this shit done. Saturday, we're going to start some painting, okay? All right? And
Mm-hmm.
she negotiates with her inner child. I'm going to go on, we're going to do this today. And on Sunday, I'm going to have my undivided attention and we're going to play and paint and have fun. And she constantly, and if she doesn't show up on Saturday, I know you're mad, Hey, I let you down. Shit, I sucked at that one. Drop the ball, but I'm going to make it up to you. Tomorrow, we're going to make chocolates or whatever the inner child, wants to do. Be creative.
Exactly.
And I thought that
Exactly.
was really neat.
Yes, I love that. I love that because it's true. You have to be impeccable with your word to other people and impeccable with your word to yourself.
Write that one down.
So,
That's a writer downer. Impeccable to your word. How do you trust yourself if you don't listen to yourself? Or how can you expect other people to trust you and invest in you if you're not having accountability with your own self, with your own things that you say you do? Now, this is like it seems like this is a very 101, well, duh, everyone does this, but no, really think about this. And let's just chime in here with, the audience. Like, are you really doing the things that you say you're going to do? Where do you drop the ball? Is it with yourself? When you make new ideas or new boundaries or decisions around going to the gym or eating healthier or not drinking or having better communication with your spouse or being kinder, gentler to yourself, or, hustling in your business and focusing. Are you really, honoring the things that you say you're going to do? That is really the bedrock for having confidence and really the bedrock, I think, for self-love, if you nail that one.
yeah, yeah. It's radical responsibility, right? You have to take radical responsibility for all the parts of your life. It's about, knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and being there for yourself at all times.
Yeah.
If you're not, you're never going to make it. Blaze says the only person you cannot fool is yourself. Yes, Blaze, but you can try really hard. And when you try really hard, that's when you tend to get sick and things crash and your job falls apart and your marriage falls apart and your kids hate you. And so you punish yourself when you're trying to fool yourself. You tend to kind of get stuck in that place of believing that you're, the bullshit about yourself. And then that creates, all kinds of imbalances in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really a really interesting conversation. We've got a lot of people, commenting here, which is it's fascinating. I always find that it's so interesting to know that, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. People also feel this way. Oh, I can let my shield down. I'm not perfect, and other people out there aren't perfect either. I think there's a conversation
Exactly.
Needs to have some light brought to it.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we do tend to drop the, when you're not being impeccable with your word to yourself, you drop the ball a lot. Like Anna says, she lies to herself, she drops the ball. And yeah, because that's how we are showing up for ourselves, which isn't how we would show up for anyone else in our life. And if we're not showing up for ourselves in that way, we can't show up for anybody in the way that we want to.
That's how it ties into business, right? If you're not showing up for yourself, you can't expect to be able to show up for other people and run a business and, just grow and yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. And it does create a lot of, then you get into the areas where you have that self-loathing and you don't trust yourself and you hate yourself and you think that you struggle with your relationships and you beat yourself up I used to beat myself up really a lot. I was probably my harshest critic for a very, very long time. And truly, when you start to trust the universe and shift your mindset around some of this stuff, a lot of that just falls away and you don't even recognize it. And then later on, you're talking about it with other people, like with this, and you're like, I don't even recognize that person that I used to be that used to do all of those horrible, horrible things to myself.
That used to settle for whatever it was, being, mistreated, not honored or neglected, or on and on and on and on. So
yes,
these patterns, and the patterns follow you throughout your adult life unless you freaking deal with them, unless you show up and run or process the emotion.
Exactly.
Let it go. And so Anna says, yeah, trust is my theme at the moment. I need to trust myself. So
trusting yourself. That's huge.
Yeah, it is a really interesting conversation. So
yes.
Some concrete ways we've discussed here. What else is there? We talked about loving yourself, talking to yourself as if you're your best friend, catching yourself if you hear yourself, with a negative talk, making some new decisions, having integrity with your word.
Yeah.
What else?
Loving yourself no matter what, loving your flaws the most, because they're the pieces that make you real. And then the next one is probably that it's never too late. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how far down the rabbit hole you've fallen. I don't care about any of that, because beginning wherever you are and whatever age you are, whatever stage you're at, all of that stuff, that is the most important piece, because your past can't control your future if you're changing it. If you are embracing all of these things and you are saying, I am done, then things shift. Yeah. And that's, I love the word shift, because shift is, it's not about enormous, massive changes. It's about the little shifts that create the massive change without you recognizing it.
And I think what you're saying really is that, when you say I'm done, you're talking about creating a new standard, which changes everything. It does shift everything. You're also talking about, this idea of sometimes you got to close one door before you open another one.
Yes, definitely.
And,
definitely.
But Beata's got a question here, about how do you kind of create boundaries with your family while you're working on yourself? How do you not let what they're saying to you stick, not take it on?
Well, really, that involves absolutely tuning them out. And that is really difficult to do. You can do it while you're listening to them, but it's going to take you a million years and you're never going to get there, because you're never going to truly allow those narcissists and those naysayers and the negative Nellies to truly fall away from you, because it's kind of like being on a rocket ship. A rocket has like 4 or 5 different layers to it. And as you go through each layer of the atmosphere, a different piece falls away. And sadly, it's terrifying, but that's kind of how I see a lot of this journey happening, is that, the people that are glommed onto you and feeding off of your energy, that the energy suckers, the negative Nellies and the narcissists, as you grow, they'll fall away. And whether you're happy about that or not is up to you. You can choose to accept it and know that new people will find you and they're going to be awesome. Or you can, cling to it and try to fall back down towards earth again and push them all back onto you. And
I think what we're talking about really, is a concern for a lot of people, especially because these are often our relationships with parents, with family members, with spouses. Yeah. They're like an integral part in our life. Yeah. And we've somehow allowed, ourselves to, it's normal. We normalized it, like you talked in the beginning about breaking out of that bubble, and then you start to say, oh my God, this is not normal. You know, I would not normally take this, you know, but it's my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my husband, my wife, whatever. It's this integral part. So you kind of slide over and let that slide.
Yeah.
So new standard.
Yeah.
You know, I did that with I think I cut my mom out for several months. You know, that was it. You don't listen to me, I'm not having a conversation with you. Go call somebody else. For what?
Yeah.
What am I losing? What am I losing? I'm losing a bunch of heartache. I'm losing, you know, no problem there. Cut that out. Goodbye. The hard part though was the rest of the family who was like, hey man, hey, we need you. Hey, aren't you going to take care of this? Hey, aren't you? No, I'm going to take care of myself right now. How's that for radical self-love?
Yeah.
Denise
Yeah.
is nodding vigorously.
Exactly. Well, and I do want to say though, that if it feels like a relationship that you don't want to lose, you can go really slow making the changes with other people. And when you go slowly, it tends to go over a little better. Or at least, well, it's going to hurt for longer because every time you try and grab a piece of your boundaries, you know, they're going to push back and it's going to be a big fight and whatever. But you can go slowly if you're worried about truly losing those relationships and you don't want to. And then you may still lose them. Who knows? But you may be able to kind of get them used to the idea. You may be able to kind of indoctrinate them. Maybe we'll use indoctrinate because I can't think of the actual word. But you might be able to kind of, you know, drag them along for the ride, so to speak.
We train people how to treat us, right?
We do. We do. Yeah.
And so if you find yourself in a stage of life where that's not cutting it anymore, it's time to make some new, you know, some new decisions, some new boundaries. And the people who want to be in your life, you know what, they're going to show up and shape up or ship out. I mean, trust me, they're like Sherry says, there's better things coming around. The universe is going to test you, right? You're going to accept this? That's all you get. You want this? You're not going to settle for this, right?
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I know, Sherry, that you've got a special offer for, you know, for our guests here today. Why don't you tell people about how, you know, what that is and how people can, so I know people are like, you know, nodding vigorously. I want to know about this. And it's obviously a hot topic. Let people know, you know, what you have for them.
Okay. So I am offering everyone who's on here today a free call just to kind of chat a little bit further and a little bit more in depth about all of these topics. We can delve into where you are and kind of figure out where you want to be and kind of figure out maybe some quick tools for getting you there as we go along. So I'd love to have you join me and do a call. That would be awesome because it's more fun when we're doing this together, right? So
and you have a program that helps women create boundaries and, you know, helps them get on track with all of these new tools.
Yes, I do have a program. It is a 9-week program which offers women all of these tools and all kinds of amazing transformation and really learning how to love themselves and have boundaries and have self-esteem and have self-confidence and really get to where they want to be in their life, in their mindset, in their everything. And it's pretty fun. It's kind of awesome actually to watch these women totally transform their lives and stop being stuck and start shifting into this amazing new way of being. It's
possibility.
The possibilities are endless.
Right. To end the freaking cycle and the loops and to start really showing up for yourself the way that you want to. I think that's real empowerment. And Jesus saying, yes, please. So I'm popping the link in for you guys to schedule your call with Sherry. She's a rock star. Love her work. And again, I highly recommend taking her up on this offer. If you've been, you know, running around in circles and you're tired of banging your head against the wall, you know, to me, that definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, or trying to do it by yourself. You know, if we were supposed to do it by ourselves, there wouldn't be 8 billion people in the world. Because I know when I first started on this, journey, I thought, oh my gosh, I was so used to doing everything by myself that I thought if I went to ask for help, I was a loser. That is a loser way to look at. No, I'm serious. That's a loser perception.
I'm laughing because I did the exact same thing for like 20 years. And it wasn't until the last 6 or 7 that I finally started getting help. And
yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, and then the lights turn on. I have a friend of mine says, "Oh, you spend all kinds. We spend so much money as entrepreneurs on hiring this, this system, getting this coach, this mentor to do this. Well, what about yourself? What about your own personal goals? What about somebody for your own mindset? What about marriage counselor? What about She said she gave me this, and she's been married for like 12 years. She made this great idea. She's like, everybody who gets married should be required to have a marriage counselor. Period. Like, you blend these 2 different people, all of a sudden they jump into their own lives together with kids or without kids, and I thought, geez, she really had such a great perception on, getting help. And I was like, I'm going to borrow that. That's well done. So again, the link to book a call with Sherry, if you want to investigate how to, break free and get out of your rut and, maybe create some just a plan for boundaries with the people in your life that maybe they are really you really want to have them in your life, but you're in an impossible situation. I'm going to pop that link here for those of you who are in YouTube live. The link is tranquilitysoulspa.com/book now. tranquilitysoulspa.com/book now.
Yes.
What happens? People get to that site, they can book a call in your calendar, and then you send them some kind of questionnaire.
The questions are actually in the calendar, so they'll fill in a little bit about where they're at right now, and then we can kind of get started filling that in a little bit more when we're actually talking. And at the end of the day, transformation requires support. You can't do it on your own. You need other people to really help you figure out where you are, where you want to be.
Sometimes it's just to have somebody listen to you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sometimes you're like, oh man, that does sound like crap. Shit. Can't believe that came out of my own mouth. Wow.
Exactly.
It's nice to have somebody else reflect back. That's pretty, that's pretty bad. What do you want to do about that? Eve Rose says, can you repeat it once more? Yes, it's tranquilitysoulspa.com/book now. And I'm also putting the link inside the chat box, tranquilitysoulspa.com/book now.
Yes.
Transformation requires support.
It does. It does. You can't do these things in a vacuum. You have to have other people around. And the saddest part of all of this is that our friends and family have a vested interest in us staying exactly where we are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shame.
There's a lot of shame
and stigma of, I don't want to tell anybody that this is really going on. I'll just keep this on the down low, and maybe your close friends hear about it. But, there is a lot of shame and stigma with, oh my God, going and reaching out for help and telling somebody and getting support.
Definitely. And it doesn't have to be that way. Our friends and family, as God love them, but they honestly, truly, they have a vested interest in us staying exactly where we are because we fulfill a need for them.
Or some of them just don't know how to freaking help. I mean, some people are great to sit there and listen. I got a book recently, and I was reading, some people say, oh, you just want to vent. So you have your vent friends, and you have your, so a lot of times this makes you worse. And I was like, geez, that's, interesting. It's also true. Be careful who you take advice from. Okay?
Yep.
Don't take advice about how to be wealthy from the bum on the street. I think a lot of people, they do that, right? Oh, I'm going to listen to so-and-so about coaching. So so-and-so's never been a coach that thinks coaching has to do with football. Like, don't listen to them. It's the same thing with,
exactly.
Don't go and listen to, your family members if they don't have good relationships. If you want relationship advice, get professional help or support. Right? I mean, it sounds so logical, but I think a lot of times, women entrepreneurs that we don't really make this a priority. Oh, I need to learn the systems and the sales and the marketing and this and that. My mindset, no, nothing wrong there. No. Oh, I don't want to You know, it's silly to go and
Exactly.
invest time or money, you know, into looking at that.
It's so true. And even a lot of times when you think you're doing all the right things, if you don't actually have someone who can actually tell you, who can give you more than just kind of generic cookie cutter stuff, that actually can tailor that journey based on where you are at this moment in your life, that can really make a big difference when it comes to mindset. I mean, mindset isn't one size fits all. I wish it was, but it's
But
not.
the thing is, you're not getting anywhere until you have the right mindset. That's the thing. You know, it
Exactly.
doesn't matter if you're going from 0 to 100,000 a year in your business, 100,000 to 500,000, 500,000 to a million. It's going to take a different mindset, a different mentality, different concepts of yourself the whole way through. It's a journey of transformation. So I'm a big proponent of mindset.
I know. I love all of your mindset stuff. It really was kind of the final piece for me of, oh, yes, yes. And so it, you know, but I could see that some people in the program struggled with it still because it wasn't quite what they needed personally. And that's, you know, you can't, in a group program, it's sometimes a little harder to do mindset on an individual basis. Whereas with me, I don't have it as a group program. It's completely tailored to each person. So
Awesome. So if anybody would like to, you know, connect with Sherry, please go to the website. I'll put the link here again in the chat, tranquilitysoulspa.com/book now. Anybody have any last minute questions for Sherry? Sherry, a last minute piece of advice, a word, an idea, a comment, something, a quote, and that's something that you want to leave kind of listeners with. I mean, we've shared a lot of, you know, great ideas, and I love this conversation. And amazing having you, you know, here. So
thank you.
For sharing. But last minute idea, conversation, piece.
I do have one thing. It's a quote, and I'm going to read it off my thing here. And it's by a woman named Shraddha. And it says, "Your wound is probably not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility." It's very, very true.
Well said.
Because at the end of the day, we can't really fix, you know, we can't go back and change, but we can move forward and create the life that we actually want.
Love that. Yeah, take radical responsibility for that. You deserve it.
Yes.
Thank you, Sherry, for being here today and having this conversation. Yeah, it's been awesome. And thank you guys, viewers here, for, you know, tuning in. Sherry's got a Facebook group. It's called, what's the group called again?
It's called The Shift, Awakening Your Inner Fire. And
The Shift, Awakening Your Inner Fire. You can find that on Facebook if you search that in the search. Yep, bar.
Yep. And it's pretty intense. We do a lot of mindset work in there. Pretty much every day I'm challenging people to create a new life for themselves. So it's a lot of fun. And we've got some pretty great women in there. So yeah, definitely join us. Join her.
Find her on Facebook, find the group, and then your website's called tranquilitysoulspa.com.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
The amazing Sherry Sutherland. Thank you, Sherry, for being here. Thank you guys
so much. Thank you so much for having me. Greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
Definitely.
These conversations are important. You know, it's so important to, you know, so important to know that you're not alone. You know, other people are dealing with this, have dealt with it, have overcome it, you know, so it's
exactly
important conversations to have. And I want to thank Sonia saying thank you, all these people saying thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in live, right? You could be doing anything here, but you've chosen to, you know, invest your time into, you know, yourself and your future, and that's amazing. So I just feel like we're amongst rock stars here, and
always incredibly grateful for having other people listen to the conversation that I'm trying to have about loving yourself and having boundaries. So
yeah, very important. It all starts there. So thank you guys, and thank you, Sherry. And we'll see you guys on another one of these live 10K and 30-day live weekly webinars. Have a wonderful day. Bye,
guys.